Haunted senior living in the Old Baraboo Inn and other haunted stuff today on We Are Talking About It. I am Angie Graham, and welcome to our soft launch episode of We Are Talking About It. We will be premiering our podcast on Monday, January 6th of 2025. We hope everyone will follow, download, and subscribe to our podcast. And we will be on all major podcast stations. All right, and today we have with us in the studio Shelley Wells from the Old Baraboo Inn.
Hello.
In Baraboo, Wisconsin. We have Lori, a haunted hotel adventurer. And Dawn, a senior living executive director with some stories to share.
Hello.
Hello, so welcome.
Thank you.
Dawn, let's start with you. So you work as a senior living executive director. So you work with our seniors and all the way through death. So tell us your story.
Well, I started out 2011 at our house and started on the small building. And then 2 years after that, they asked me to go up and train some new girls up at the senior apartments. And so I said I would. Not really good working third shift, but I tried it. There's a lot of people at work talking about seeing like ghosts and wedding dresses and hearing noises and stuff being moved. So I just blew it off, not thinking about it. And so then I had a girl working with me, and we heard a noise upstairs. We went upstairs, and we seen like a white dress, like really fast around the corner. That scared me. So we decided to go check on it. We didn't see anything. All the rooms were filled, so we didn't.
So you went down to the corner, and then when you got there?
Nothing was there.
Nothing was there.
No.
Okay.
And then another time, we have that lady in the wheelchair. She's a mannequin. Very scary. Very. She would be under the, like, by the steps in the elevator. And I always hated going past her because I felt she was staring at me. And so one day we went upstairs to answer a call late and came back down, and she was gone, and she was next to my office. I asked the new girl if she moved her, and she said no, and no. So we put her back, and then another night, we these residents have they're like little people like facing the walls, like decorations. There was 3 residents that had, must have been 2 or 3 each. They were all lined up on the railing upstairs.
So out of their apartments?
Yes.
Were they lined up inside their apartments or out in the hallway shelves?
In the hallway.
Okay.
Yep. And then when I came, they were all lined up by the bedroom and by the railing, looking over.
And nobody, none of the team members said that they had done it or anything?
No, because the girl that I had was training.
Oh.
So, and half of the residents were sleeping, so I didn't think anything of it. But yeah, that really scared me.
Did that only happen at night, or did the staff report things happening at other times?
Nope, it was always on third shift. Always on third shift. They'd hear noises, people coming down the stairs. The elevator would come down and no one was on it. There'd be, my office door was open one day and papers were on the floor to, stuff moved.
Do they still report that happens? Or do you just not hear about it as
I
much?
don't hear it as much, so I don't know, but it was, I guess I should talk to the people that are working and see if they hear anything, but I don't want to scare them, so.
Please don't scare away.
Everything is hard. You don't want to be like, hey, we're haunted.
Did you see a lady in a dress? No, and that was my experience of that, so.
Well, now they'll all be hearing this, and then we will have people being like,
You know, and
I mean,
sometimes
we could start opening up for haunted tours as well.
Oh,
Yes.
I loved your story. That was awesome. I'm like, everything's happened so fast. It's like, did it happen or didn't happen? Or was that just me? Or, so that's so typical. But a lot of times people are reluctant to talk about it, or used to be. So in the past, they would think, something's wrong with her mind. You're afraid you're going to
exactly.
get labeled.
Yeah, people think you're crazy.
But now I think people are just so they're in a different place now. And they're like so much more active in talking about the afterlife. And I love that you had those experiences to build them. But it's about, wow, what happens and how do we know and what are we thinking? And they're just so much more open to talking about ghosts and afterlife and things that have happened when you ask them, well, have you ever had anything that you thought might be paranormal happen? And the majority of people are like this.
Yeah.
And then you ask people, is anybody in here sensitive or feel like you have some sensitivity, energy? So many people do.
And that's what was weird is the other girls that worked third shift told me this, and I'm like, oh, you guys are nuts. I don't believe that. And let me tell you, when it happened, I went and I called her that morning and I said, you are correct. I seen it. And she's like, you did? And I'm like, I did.
So you like to go visit haunted hotel tours?
yes,
Or
well,
just haunted tours in general?
yes. And it probably, came from previous experiences because, it was like growing up, like you just didn't talk about it at all and stuff
No.
like that. But I've had lots of weird things that have happened to me in the past. And so, like, I had worked as a second job with some juvenile women, and it was in this old Victorian house. And it was like at night, we're trying to get them to go to bed, and like there's an upstairs to it, an attic to it, and like the only people that had it were the two employees there, which was me and another person. And so there was no way anybody could have gotten in there, and we're standing there and my back is to this door, and we're standing there trying to talk to the girls and trying to get them to go, and all of a sudden you hear somebody coming down the steps behind me. And like everybody just froze and stopped, and it was like, what just happened? Like, what? And you're kind of like with the key going, I don't even know if I want to open the door because I don't want to know what's on that other side. And that was probably like my first experience. And that was kind of like one of those things of like, oh, wow, like this is so cool. Yeah, and I've even had things, I've lived in houses that were haunted, and not to the point of what we saw in that little episode of Haley Talks.
With Granny.
Yeah, because that was a little freaky. But so I had lived in this house. My son was probably about 2.5, maybe 3, and it was an old farmhouse. It was built in like 1819, and they had remodeled it, and it was really beautiful. And we used to always like see shadows going by us, and you could hear people going up and down the steps, and there'd be nobody there. Well, and my son would always refuse to sleep in his bedroom, and he'd always be like, there's a ghost, the ghost. I don't want to sleep there because of the ghost. And it was like, okay, come on, like this is a 2.5, 3-year-old kid, and he's saying there's a ghost. And there were so many times that it would be like I would be in bed, and out of the corner of my eye at night, and it wasn't that lights were being shined or anything like that, and you would just see this shadow come across and go into his room. And it was like, what in the world? And then, and then it would later turn to this thing would start saying my name and my husband's name, and we would wake up and we'd be like, did you say something? And he's like, no, but I heard it, I mean, so it was just kind of those weird things. And even one time we had the basement door opened out, and it's like those gross old basements
Cobwebby
basements you didn't go down. But one of the reasons we didn't go down too is you couldn't even get that door open. It would not, it was like you had to pull it on the carpet, and it just wouldn't open. And my husband and I, we had gone on kind of like our honeymoon trip 10 years after being married, and we had a babysitter watching the kids, and we come back, and we have to walk right by that door to go up the steps where the kids are with the babysitter. And, we walked by it, no big deal. We're upstairs, we're talking and everything, and we come down, and the door is open.
Oh.
And we're just like, who opened this door, and how did this door get open? And you're even like trying to shove it closed, and you're like, this isn't even closed, So it's like, those freaky things that happened, and then that kind of got me into buying all of those books that are like, the haunted, I'm from Iowa originally, so I'm like, I got all the books for the haunted places in Iowa.
Oh, yeah.
I moved to Wisconsin, and what do? I buy all the haunted Wisconsin, the haunted Chippewa Falls books. Because I'm like, I want to go to these places. Yeah, you
Books,
just
yeah.
want to, you just want to go to all these places and stuff. And so then, I've gone, when I travel, we kind of like to hit those spots. Went to Savannah, we saw the Lowell House, nothing happened there or anything like that. When I took my kids to San Diego, we went to the Whaley House. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. They say it's the most haunted house in America, but to me, everybody says they're the most haunted house in America.
Yeah,
so I don't,
that's
but it's a really cool place, and it's in Old Town, so it's pretty old, and it started out as they built this. Kind of as a feed mill originally, and they made the walls like steel so that nothing could, get into it, no animals, but yet at that time flooring was still wood, and so they really didn't think things through, and so they later converted this to a legal area, so they had like the jury and all of, court. And so you go in, and you're sitting there in these things watching, and they're saying this was the courthouse portion or whatever, and they'll tell you kind of the story about it. But they're like, yeah, and some people feel the little rats running across your feet. And I'm like, we're all in sandals because it's hot, and we're like, ooh, pick your feet up because I don't want any rats. But it's a very interesting place. And it is kind of freaky, but then upstairs they have this room that they made into a playhouse. And so then, they put on plays and theater people, and they had this guy. And so they're sitting there talking, and he's explaining that, all the things that they do there. And I'm sitting next to my son, and we're in the very back row of this. And then there's some strange lady I don't know next to me, and my other the two other ones were up above that went with us, and we're sitting there, and they're talking, they're explaining, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I can feel like somebody's rubbing their fingers up and down my back. And as she's saying this, she says, yes, and she said, and the guy here really likes the women, and so if you're a pretty woman, you may have somebody whispering in your ear and things, and I'm like, I look at my son, and I'm like, did you just do that? And he's like, what? I'm like, did you just put your finger, rub your finger. He's like, no, Mom. And just as I say that, the fingers go up and down my back again. And I'm like, what in the world? So basically, I got hit on by a ghost.
Yes.
I'm like,
take the wins while you can.
Oh my goodness.
Very So we have one that loves to play with zippers. So one of the warnings we give is ladies watch your zippers, guys too. It doesn't exclude you, but it's like there is someone that loves to play with zip up or zip down zippers, or all of a sudden somebody's earring will pop out of their ear. Like they feel like there's been something playing with their ear, like what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And then all of a sudden it's like boink. It goes, and there it is on the floor. So it reminded me of a little bit of what you were saying. Reminds me of they find things necklaces even that they want to play with, and they just letting you know that they kind of like you.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good thing or not.
So Shelley, you're from the Old Baraboo Inn. Now Baraboo is full of history.
Oh my goodness!
In so many ways. So tell us about the Old Baraboo Inn and its history.
Well, I love that question because so many people come because of the history. So this building down on the corner of Walnut by the old train station, this year we're celebrating, this is so exciting, it's the 160th year of this building.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that is awesome.
It was built in 1864, and if we do the math, this is 2024, we get, right, 160 years. So we've been celebrating all year long, and we celebrate the resident spirits that are still there. We celebrate and we respect the time period that they came through. And so much of our communication with them is about what their life might have been like, which is really revealing. Thinking about so many clowns and circus, right? Well, we're 2 blocks down from the Circus Museum, the back door. So in the day, if you had stayed there when it was a boarding house, you might have got up in the morning, looked outside, and there's the elephants going around the corner. It was a traveling circus. So we have pictures of animals going 2 by 2 up toward the train tracks. And I always looked at the picture and thought, oh, this looks like going to Noah's Ark, right?
Yep.
But the river's south, not north. Then I finally figured out, oh, yeah, because they were going up to get on the train. So there were 2 zebras and 2 llamas and the pictures are just incredible. And you can find those at Sauk County Historical Society Museum and at the Baraboo Public Library. Just incredible history that took place down on that corner. Much of it was happy. There were 3 breweries on that corner. This building was one of them. It was the Bender Brewery, right? They were very happy. There was the Bender Brewery here, and then across the street was the city of Baraboo Brewery called the Rulin Brewery, and then right next door was very famous. It became the Effinger Brewery. So I always like, you know what people like to do.
So was it a brewery before it was an inn? Or
Good question. It was the original builders, George and Anna Bender. It was a boarding house for them. And they also brewed German lager in the basement. So they brewed their heritage. They built a beautiful mural on the wall in the main saloon, the main bar area. But sadly enough, years later, I'm old enough to remember this, there was a devastating fire in that building. And it ruined much of the inside of the building. Yeah, and it was closed for 14 years. So people used it for storage. It was just a mess. And then a family member of mine decided, my younger brother, that he was going to purchase this building. My mother and I were like, you're what? If you saw pictures of it, it was a disaster. It did take him 3 years to clean it out, clean it up. But the passion for the history, going back to that, and our dad was a businessman in Baraboo, and he owned the Effinger Hotel down the street. So as kids, we learned to appreciate. And the railroad station's right there. We have pictures of soldiers coming back from the war with the thousands of people standing in the train yard waiting for their family members to come back. So that corner, when you drive through that corner on Walnut Street and Lynn Street down there, it's just filled with history, and you know what comes with that. Yeah. Yes. And so there's a tunnel that runs from the basement of the Old Baraboo Inn underneath the street to the city brewery, the Rulin Brewery over there. During Prohibition, we have been told that it was used because they continued to brew in the speakeasy in the basement and roll barrels through the tunnel and then down to the river. So that time, I ask people when they come in for public ghost hunts, I ask them, I'm like, so how long was Prohibition? A lot of people go, what would you say? How long do you think it was? That's what they look like.
I know. I'm like, I'm going to say 20 years.
Yeah, I was going to say 20 years.
That's pretty good. I usually get, maybe 3, maybe 4. It was 13.
Okay.
So, 13 years of Prohibition in the United States. That's a long time. However, what we've learned about it is that it probably made crime worse than to help. The employers were tired of hungover employees who weren't productive. Women were really tired of drunk husbands coming home. Sorry, guys. And, so it just sort of led to this, we're done with alcohol. Well, were they ever done?
No.
We know they weren't done. Yeah, so speakeasies started, and they were supplied by, lots of legendary characters, and then crime almost became worse. So Old Baraboo Inn was one of those. You've all heard of the song Bad Bad Leroy Brown, right?
Yep.
You see that? Okay.
Favorite song. I love it.
I love the songs.
Yeah.
So the owners, George and Anna Bender, had 7 children, and one of their children's name was Leroy. Well, he was Bad Leroy Bender. We have found articles. We have a historian that researches and found, boy, they were so bad. Leroy and Arthur, they were still brewing moonshine, and he got caught dumping moonshine on the corner outside, fined $300 back in 1920.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
That's a
back
lot
then.
of money back
It is,
then,
yes.
right? But do you know anyone that when they're told they can't do something, they're
going to stop.
they're
No.
not going to stop.
Yeah.
Right, they're going to do it even more. So that was Bad Leroy Bender. So 6 years later, got raided by the feds. This has a lot of history, guys. Got raided by the feds when it was the
Wow.
cafe, and found all of the moonshining and speakeasy stuff in the basement. So the building was locked up for a year by the government, and that was part of the story of the end of the moonshine in the basement. But we have moonshine today. It's legal. You can stop in and have some apple pie or peanut butter or whatever you want. So
That sounds good.
So not only is it rich in history, but when you were talking, I was just thinking, ghost magnet. Ghost magnet. She's a ghost magnet. I have just seen, having been there for so many years, that I've seen a lot of people who it's going to happen for them. You're talking about shadows. And I'm like, ew, those are the ones that get me. I don't like shadows. It's like, but the sounds, I heard everything, the shadows, the hearing the steps from the story so far that indicate we might have someone on the other side around us. And some people just, it happens. And then I'm also convinced that at this point, there are other people who something will never happen to them. They'll never hear it. They'll never sense it. They'll never get the this.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you know this.
The arm
Okay.
stick-
Yeah.
the hair
Yeah.
sticking
Thank
up
you.
and-
Yeah,
Yep.
that will never happen to them. They just don't. I don't know. We have way more questions than answers, I do have to say. But we have had people capture in the back gangster lounge, in the back bar. There's a reason for that name. Full body apparitions. So we probably have 4 caught on camera back there that are just absolutely incredible. And they're period ones. We have Our Lady in White, who told us her name is Sybil. She's just gorgeous. And when she communicates, she's so kind. And she's in a white dress. She told us, you said wedding or you said wedding?
Yeah, I did.
You
Yep,
did.
I
Okay,
did.
I'm like, oh my gosh. And like our Sybil told us she's wearing her wedding dress. She's a lady in white. And sometimes you talked about seeing white going around a corner
Yep.
real quickly. Her too. So people will say, I just saw a white skirt go around the corner. We had a man that actually got pickpocketed at the bar one night.
By a ghost?
Yes. Yes, an older gentleman, really, he'd come in a lot and he left, and pretty soon he came back. He does the rounds, my brother's bartending, and my brother says, well, Paul, why are you back? And he's like, well, geez, I left and I got to where he was going and I didn't have my wallet. That's what my brother did. What? I mean, the stories are crazy. It's just weird. Okay. So he said, well, I haven't seen your wallet. And then they wound up looking around and he goes, well, I felt a tap on my back pocket. So my brother went out there and they started looking around. There was his wallet laying on the floor. He's like, oh man, BC. He's, and they're like, mm-hmm. And he'd had other things happen in there as well. But he had seen the white skirt flow around the corner. So we're like, Sybil, are you a pickpocketer? But we really think it's cowboy. We're not going to blame her. You were talking about that spirit that liked ladies? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have one too. Mm-hmm. And we always say, hey, cowboy, you must ask permission. If you don't have permission, you may not touch her hair. You may not do this. So we always give him some people don't want to be touched. Some people don't want that. And other people will say, oh, you could pull my hair. You can do this. You can do that. But he loves, our understanding from a medium that was there is he was a womanizer in life in the old days. This is his place. He has his table, and he still loves his whiskey, and he is still a bit that way in the afterlife. So we play with him a lot, but he's very respectful. He'll say, "Yes, ma'am."
So I'll get
drawl.
hit on if I go there.
You might. You might.
So
You're going to have to go check it out.
I am.
I have a question too.
Yeah.
So does your brother notice any alcohol missing? Like he's going through more alcohol than normal?
Well, we thought that was the staff.
So that does make you think
Never
that.
thought about that.
I mean, did you ever think about are they drinking?
They probably move things around, though.
They
I
do
know they
move
can
things
do that.
around, and that was one of the first things that happened there during renovation.
Yep.
Tools were here, and then they weren't. Lights were shut off in the basement, and they come in the morning, and the lights are on. So
We're Talking About It is brought to you by Our House Senior Living. Visit us at ourhouseseniorliving.com.
the typical paranormal activity that we could never say 100% it was a ghost, but we can say with 100% it's paranormal activity found in haunts.
It is really weird because there's some stuff that we have to put in the books,
Yeah.
and I know that we stuck it in there, and just something, I know, I looked right at it. And I should have just taken a picture and said, yep, I put it in there, and it was gone.
It was gone.
You couldn't
Yeah.
find it.
Yeah.
And then I found papers on my floor in my office.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, those team members are going to get it. They messed with my desk. But,
It's locked.
yeah.
It's a very good chance that it wasn't a living person. We're so sensitive because we'll hear something and then we'll check with each other. Did you just do that? Was that you? So we're constantly checking with, was that a living person, or did that just noise come from? I mean, toilets will flush in the ladies' bathroom and there's nobody in there. We have just every single level has its own energy. So I am not a basement person. So when you were talking
I'm not
about
either.
the basements, remember? And, they're musty and, the old basement where the door is open and things like that. Okay, there's an execution pole in the basement.
Oh.
Yeah, where, it was rough back then. People got killed, untimely deaths. Historically, there was a bad card game that went sour. Women. It had its days when it was a brothel, just like many other places. So there was a lot of traumatic, unexpected, untimely deaths in the building that left a residue. And then we have very intelligent spirits that absolutely love to mess with you. Some of them like to play tricks. They think they're funny. It's like, whoa. That really wasn't funny, Paul, so please don't do that again. Or we'll say, oh, that was so cool. Could you please do that again?
It makes
and then
like
we
you're
thank
losing
them.
it.
Yeah, like you're losing it.
Yeah, I'm losing it.
So they know, we try to keep the flow of energy very positive when people come in to visit and do some of the ghost hunting there, because we want their story. So we're all about the story. And that's what makes it really fun. Yes.
So people can come in there and you can give them tours
Yes.
and let them speak.
We do public event. We are an event venue with a bar in it. So we do public mini ghost hunts.
Is that before drinking or after drinking?
Well, somebody might.
Because I prefer to do the after drinking.
Let me tell you, some of them need one before they start. But, we don't, in fact, we don't allow anybody that's intoxicated to do it. The only problem I've ever had with that is when they've gone out somewhere before they came. And I've had to say, hey, you and I might be good friends tonight. We might be sticking with you because I have to make sure. Otherwise, they have to leave. We have had to remove people because the spirits that are there know that we respect them, and we would never let them be taunted or disrespected in any way. And that is why we have this like relationship. We know who many of them are, but there's always somebody new coming through, which is really cool.
What's the history behind the execution pole? I mean, that sounds very intriguing. So
Yeah.
was that was a like in the underground, in the basement area?
Yeah, it's in the basement. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Patty Negri, but she's on Ghost Adventures. She's the one that I'm not a big fan of that, but she calls Patty in when he needs somebody like her to come in. She was here a year ago.
Okay.
And she channeled, I've never seen this in my life, she channeled 2 spirits down by the pool. So here's what we learned. One of them was a female spirit who was in a serious danger, and we don't know what had happened. But she's like, I got to get out of here. So we believe, based on stories, that some of these women were raped and murdered in the basement.
Oh, no.
We have some mediums that have come through that said there are still fetuses buried. Sometimes they've heard humming in the basement. So there's bullet holes in the execution pole. So we feel like people have lost their lives tied to the pole. So there's a lot.
Is
sad.
it a beam, or is it a square? Is
You
it
sit
round?
down.
I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
Yeah,
Is she going to
it's
show us a picture?
It's actually a very large, like, tree pole kind of a thing. Here it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like a telephone pole.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
but it's wood. And that's in the dirt right there. And when it was painted, it still had all kinds of marks that were looking like some blood coming up. There's also like whipping marks on the pole. And so we just kind of have to go with the stories when they're consistent, and we're getting 3 people who's reading the energy. They don't know each other. They're here at different times, and they're just kind of saying, you know, here's what I'm getting. I mean, some of them have dropped at the pole because of the energy is so sad. Yeah. So I am, like, I'm not that person, not a fan of that. We have a book. The book is called Where the Party Never Ended, Ghosts of the Old Baraboo Inn. So I like the party part.
Okay.
So in the old saloon, they're still having a good time. They're doing what they always did, maybe playing cards, drinking. The ladies are having fun. The happy. And then there's the upstairs, and that is the old boarding house, old brothel area. And my brother actually got on a show with Jack Osborne and the Ghost Brothers on Discovery Plus.
Okay.
Our episode featured a haunted brothel, us, and it was called Ghost Gone Wild. So if you have Discovery Plus, you can watch the. I mean, it is the perfect title because they go wild. They're just having a good time, and some nights are higher activity than others. But as many times as I've done these, people have always gotten something. Not everybody, but we also share in other people's experiences. Even their relatives would come through.
Is this like, I mean, an every night thing that you
Just
do
Saturdays.
No, but like
Oh.
that you actually get the spirits coming through and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's people that come are awesome, and their energy is so good, and we just ask everybody to stay really positive. And if we should get sworn at by someone who's not having a good night, we'll say, oh, I'm sorry you sound upset, so it's probably not a good time to talk to you, and we shut them off. So
how many ghosts have you guys been able to identify there?
well, about 30.
Wow.
But one that I haven't talked about that there are recordings captured is we believe to truly be the voice and ghost of Mr. Capone. We have stories of him there in life, and he
That's
is very
interesting.
active in the afterlife. So, Old Baraboo Inn YouTube page, you can hear 2 of him on the investigation clips on there.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is interesting.
It's pretty incredible. So we just got his favorite liquor. We found out Mr. Capone loves Templeton Rye. All right, so we just got that. He called it the good stuff. So we now have the good stuff. And you said something about would people steal that liquor? So sometimes we take a shot upstairs with us for Mr. Capone. When we go up and we walk in, we've got a recording. We walked in and he goes, "That's my shot." And then the paranormal investigators come to help with us. The investigator goes, "Yeah, Mr. Capone, you're good stuff." Guess what came out of the box next? Good stuff.
Oh, cool.
It's like, wow. We've had mediums that have come face to face with him there. So why? I don't know. The building's made of limestone. It holds in a lot of energy. Some is residual and just replaced, but so many are intelligent, and they're there because we've asked them if they want to leave. They said, "No, I like it here. It makes me feel alive."
So this inn,
Yeah.
is it on the corner? It's a restaurant.
It used to serve a lot of food, and then during COVID, that sort of closed that down, and so now we just do pizzas right now.
Yes, because I think I was there.
Were you?
Because there's that long entertainment place where people have the weddings.
down
Oh,
on
yeah,
Water
yes.
Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the brewery, and then on the corner there is a bar. So I was thinking that was the place.
Yeah, it is.
On the corner. The red. It's red.
Oh my God, they have awesome food.
We did. We did.
I've
Prime
been in
rib,
there.
fish. Yeah.
We used to go on Fridays.
Yes, yeah, the fish fry. I know. You know, it's really hard. Like, we changed to event venue because after COVID, like many other places, it's hard to have reliable staff.
Yeah.
So we have pretty high standards for our staff, the quality of customer service, being a people person. People come in, they want to hear stories. So we have a lot of people that have a story to tell. And so it's really hard to be open more than we are, but we're finding this is a great way, and it's an event venue to give both people an opportunity who want to come in and have a spooky cocktail. Right now we've got a theme called the Spookeasy. So we have spooky cocktails. Haunted Amber is our main stay on the draft. We've got mocktails, and we're serving pizza. Those that just want to come in for that experience. Then we got the others that are there for a mini ghost hunt, and then we also cater to private events. So sometimes we had a bachelorette party Saturday night. They were so much fun.
So you do mini ghosts, like people come and they want tours and they want to talk to someone or just to see?
Well, so those are ticketed, okay? So you can just come into the main saloon area and enjoy the history and see if you get your hair pulled. We've had somebody get their hair pulled on the corner, or a bar stool tip over, or something like that. But others...
What has been like the craziest or the scariest thing that you have
For
seen?
me?
Yeah.
Okay, the first time I was down in the office in the basement, I had, long time ago, I had no idea about any of this story that was going on, and I was just typing something on the computer, and there was a printer up here with a ream of paper. Okay, so all of a sudden that ream of paper shot. It's when things move with force. Yikes. Mm-hmm. It actually left the top of the printer and shot over my head and landed on the floor behind me. And like you, going back, I just keep thinking about how I saw that. Did I see it? I just sat there going,
Did that really just happen?
yes. And then I'm scared to turn around. And then I turn around and I go, okay, the papers, it happened. And then I'm thinking, oh, maybe it just kind of fell down.
Did you have a window open?
Yeah,
Was
no
it
windows
windy?
there. But but then I'm like, well, maybe the printer was vibrating, but it just would have fallen off. Things shoot. The dishes shoot in the kitchen. Customers have seen that. For me, that freaked me out. Okay, that was But the scariest thing that ever happened to me was I was upstairs in the old brothel area in the children's playroom. So we have a children's playroom up there. And I was reminding the paranormal investigators to make sure that you remind people to knock on the closet door before they open it. The closet is like the Chronicles of Narnia to me. So I go, I just put a new trigger object in there. Do you want to see it? And they're like, yeah. So I knock on the door and I said, hey, is it okay if I open the door? Well, we weren't running anything, so we couldn't get a yes or a no. So I'm like, okay. So I put my hand on the doorknob, right? So here's the doorknob. I was just about to grab it, and the doorknob turned in the palm of my hand and pushed me back. Popped it open. And the paranormal investigator is like, are you okay? You didn't do that? I go, I didn't even have my fingers on it. They timed it so well. So I'm like, you just scared me so bad. That was not funny. And then I literally had to leave and go down. We were having a big event that day. And I had to leave and go downstairs. And I told somebody, she goes, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I'm like, well, maybe for you, but it wasn't for me. So anyway, I went back upstairs and they said, hey, we took a spirit box in there. And we said, who just did that to Shelley? Me. I hate that when they say me. I'm like, no, give me your name. And they're like, who's me? Paul. So when I went up, he said Paul. I'm like, oh my gosh. Paul, you and I are having a one-on-one later because this is never going to happen again. And we did, and it didn't. So you just have to let them know.
It
So you had
sounds
an
so
understanding.
interesting. I would love to just come there, but
What's really fun though is it's very positive. You know, we don't. It's for the public, and so it's really fun to watch people having their own experience. That's what I find really enjoyable about being able to give people the opportunity. And then also for the spirits, they start like knowing who you are before. Yeah. So, and then who's going to get ghost bombed tonight? I think it's going to be you.
don't tell them where I live, please.
I will. But here's the deal. At the end, this is a long time tradition too. At the very end, we do remind them that this is their home. And this is where they stay. They are not allowed to leave with anyone. They weren't here to make friends. They're not your friends because friends can go home with you, right? So we always remind them that people will come back and say hello to them again, but they may not.
And they do listen then?
Most of the time, two ladies went out and found two orbs bouncing around on their dashboard in her car and came back in looking like a ghost. So at that point, we have orb control go out and take care of it.
Lori, you're going to be living with someone.
So yeah, guys.
Well, very interesting. I know in our line of work, we've heard many stories from staff of things that they experience or see, or there's certain rooms in certain buildings that they say things go on in. And then also from they can feel a presence, and then even to feeling the presence leave. So
Yes.
we encounter a lot of things going on because it's a place where that spirit is leaving the body, and whether it sticks around a while or whether it moves on, those things go on, and our staff regularly report experiences that they're having being around that. I mean, talk to our hospice nurses too. They have lots
Yeah.
of stories regarding that, afterlife. And I think the curious thing is we're always very curious about the afterlife. What is that? People have their religious beliefs or their soul. There's
So
whatever.
true.
Everybody believes something different. But I think we can all agree that there is something.
Yeah.
And how it all works. That's why all those investigators are around trying to figure it out.
Right.
And I find myself watching more and more of those shows.
Yes.
I do.
They're really addicting.
Yeah. Up to The Conjuring too. That's the story of those people that go into those
Oh,
haunted
yeah.
environments,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
have those tape recordings from way back when. So
Yeah, and it's in the small building, we have never seen that. And I think we just have, when someone passes, we open a window, let the spirits go
Oh,
out,
I've heard of
make them
that,
feel
yeah.
comfortable. I've never seen anything like that in the small building, but the big building, yes. There's been a lot.
I think we up north had a location that you would hear somebody who used to whistle all the time, and they would be walking the halls whistling.
We have a whistler. One's really good,
Yeah.
one's real bad. 2 whistlers.
It's interesting, though. I would love to check it out.
Okay, we're going.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go.
You're in the back and you're in the front.
So, can you meet someone and just tell by their energy that they might be a candidate? What do those ghosts, do you think, what do they look for? It's someone that they want
I think they
to touch their
listen.
hair or...
Part of it is, okay, this one lady I'm thinking specifically, she walked in for the first time. I had never seen her, and I noticed her behavior, and I had to go up to her and ask her if she was okay. She said, yeah, I've got someone touching my hair right now. And so she was used to that already, and so we kind of figured out who might be together. But this Steve guy, what I've learned from Steve, these 3 men, I love it when these men come. Steve, okay, he told me as it got closer, because they came in to eat, and then he said, you know what, I'm really kind of scared to do this. And I'm like, oh, Steve, no, I can reassure you, you're going to be fine. This is actually really fun. People leave saying, that was cool, you know? And I go, you'll be fine. He goes, well, if they call my name, I'm running. So guess what happened?
They called his name.
We have a big portal box upstairs that they talk out of. What do they start saying up there? Steve. 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 I was downstairs, so I wasn't up there. But sure enough, toward like halfway through, he comes down and he goes up to the bar. He goes, I need a double. And I go, what's up, Steve? He goes, they said my name. And I kept telling them, I'm not Steve, I'm Daryl. And then they were, Steve, Steve. I go, well, let's think about this, Steve. Do you remember what you said to me before you went up there? That if they said your name, you were going to do what? I was going to run. I go, you were the target for the night.
So the portal box, what is that?
Oh, it's just a big box. It's they can manipulate it in order to answer your question or talk
Oh.
through it. It's not the one like on the shows where it's that we have that too, but it's no white noise. So it sounds a lot like they're underwater and muffled, but they're all talking sometimes at the same time, and then another time it'll come out really clearly. They'll say something very clear.
I've seen that on the paranormal shows.
Yeah, we have a lot
I've
of-
watched them where they had the speaker thing, but I've never.
I've seen the ones where they walk into cemeteries and then like are talking to people in the cemeteries, and that's kind of always like the freaky one. Like I don't like cemeteries.
Me
I
either.
always feel like really awkward in cemeteries. Like it's just kind of like you always feel like there's somebody watching you, and
Yeah, and then I'm like, why would they want to be there? That wasn't where their life was.
yeah.
So what are they finding in cemeteries? I don't know.
People to pick on?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, that's true.
Well,
So many questions. It's like, how did you do that? How did you just do that? That was so cool, though. Do it again. Kind of like this cheerleader. It's like, thank you so much. It was awesome.
can they like sense off how you're feeling, like you're scared or you're
Absolutely.
mean?
Oh,
and
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So the
They're
ones
not gonna like you.
Absolutely. So,
I'll be the one being picked on.
Yeah, exactly.
what's really fun is the people that are very skeptical. That's really fun, because in one way or another, they have an experience a lot of times, and many of them actually go, "Okay, I believe you now." Especially the Budweiser delivery man.
What's been his
He was
experiences?
this young 23-year-old
Delivery guy.
delivery man
Oh,
coming
no.
in every Thursday morning and saying to my brother, how's the ghosts are mocking for how many weeks and months on end, because there were a lot of people that didn't believe that any of it was true, okay? So the Budweiser delivery guy is one of them. All right, a ghost. So he kept it up and he kept it up until one day. I love until one day stories. This is one of my favorite. Until one day he comes in and he's hanging a promotion sign up there, and my brother's standing by the cash register, and all of a sudden he swears. He yells, "Holy," I'm going to say it, right? Okay. And my brother got hit with the energy too. And he turns around and he looks at him and he goes, "And what was that all about?" "I saw her, BC. I saw her. The guy is scared to death." And he's like, "You saw who?" He goes, "The old woman." There's an old woman that roams the halls upstairs and would knock on doors. Renters left. Anyway, he's like, "I saw her." And he goes, "Mm-hmm." And my brother had actually seen her go right through the wall. It was a split second. And he goes, "Could you describe her?" "Oh, yeah." He said, she was glaring at me. So what we have heard from people is when you come in contact with a full body apparition, it's the death stare. There's this blank look, but it's the eyes connect, and there's no other expression. And that's what happened with him. So he goes, the glaring, just glaring, connecting with the eyes. And he's like, "Well, what else?" He goes, "Her face was full of wrinkles. And she had long gray hair." And my brother goes, "Okay. And can you describe what she was wearing?" Ghosts are never unclothed. They're not Caspers, right? They always give you a clue to the period of time because of their dress. And he said, "Little house on the prairie."
Okay.
So the question was, is this Anna Bender? You start to wonder the description. You start to try to figure out, like, who might this have been and why might she have done that? Well, it was pretty clear as why she did it. She was sick of him. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we call that getting ghost bombed at the Old Baraboo Inn. She was really tired of it, so she let him have it. And he would never be the same. He changed his route. He couldn't come back.
It scared him.
It was that huge because he was very much a non-believer. That's a big one.
Wow. I like it.
It's fun.
Well, this has been a great discussion, and we said we were going to talk about it, and we did. So, Shelley, the Old Baraboo Inn is something we're going to have to go see. Where can people find you online?
So you can go to the Old Baraboo Inn Facebook page, and there is a tab that shows, you can go to the events to see when they're scheduled. You could also go to Eventbrite, which is an event site, right? Eventbrite, and search for Old Baraboo Inn, and it'll show you what's happening and how you can get tickets for the event part of it. It doesn't require a ticket to come into the old saloon bar, but it does to be part of the event that we're doing. We do mini ghost hunts, 2-hour mini ghost hunts. We do 3 times a year, we do lockdowns, themed lockdowns. So everybody has to have a ticket to come in. 2 paranormal teams and a medium. And we usually theme it. We do old saloons one, we do 1920s throwback gangster ones, we do different ones. You could schedule a private with a group of people. We have overnights upstairs in the haunted brothel
Someone stays
too.
overnight there?
Oh yeah, we had one.
Hold on, someone
fun
stays
stuff.
overnight there?
Yes, Dawn. We're staying overnight.
I'm not staying overnight.
I think we all should get together and do an
And then
overnight. I've never done one there because I'm a little chicken myself.
Then there's also books that you have.
Oh, this
Are these
book?
available?
Yeah, this is on Amazon. It's on Goodreads. It's on. So Brian Cano from Paranormal TV, he does Paranormal Caught on Camera show, was here, and he named it Where the Party Never Ended, because he picked up on all the spirits that were still there doing what they did. When my brother used to shut down at night and close, they were coming out. It was their turn. Or they would hear music, the renters would hear music, old honky-tonk music, come downstairs and no one's in the bar. So Where the Party Never Ended, Ghosts of the Old Baraboo Inn. And there's a whole bunch. There's the history, there's the renovation, but there's these pictures and stories of people and their personal experiences and how they got ghost bombed at the Old Baraboo Inn, from black cats to the cowboy to the ghost that pickpocketed a lady. She asked him what she had in her pocket. He said rocks. She pulled out crystal rocks. That was amazing. People's family members come through. I personally have been with my family, most of them, when they pass, so I give you guys so much credit. That is so hard. Like, is that their last breath? Is that their last? I know that. And every one of them has been different for me, sitting with them. And so I feel like this is something people have so many questions about, but they leave with positive feelings about it. Yeah, lifts them up, so.
Well, thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
We really appreciate
It's
it.
fun. Ghost stories. Who doesn't like a good ghost story, right?
Right. And thank you for watching and listening, and we'll see you all in January. You can find the We're Talking About It podcast on YouTube, YouTube Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, and don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.